The Blue Line Huntsman Hunter in Lord of the Rings Online reigns supreme in the mobility category of DPS. Here are some tips and rotations on a Blue Line Hunter. Okay, so in the Blue Line Hunter, you basically are focusing on mobility over all else. So in the red line, your inductions, your charge time between spells, you have to be holding still, or it will interrupt your inductions. On the blue line, you can basically just run around, and all of your abilities are castable while moving like that. So this is super, super helpful if you are looking to kite mobs. And it's important that you do because you're pretty squishy. So like later on when you're fighting higher level mobs, elites and all that, they will pretty much kill you unless you're moving around. So the Blue Line Hunter is very mobile, but it has some skills to give you a boost. So we're going to go through all of the abilities on a blue line, and I'm going to talk about the rotations I have set up that seem to have worked well for me. So I guess a caveat here is I don't pretend to be an expert in this class. I don't pretend to be min-maxing at a high level. This is what I have discovered to be effective and helpful in landscape. Landscape meaning just solo questing in the open world. Alright, so first of all, we have Barbed Arrow. Barbed Arrow is like the most important skill I have discovered on the Blue Line Hunter, and I think it comes baseline Hunter skill anyways. The description is, the arrow causes a wound that bleeds. And right there are all the stats. Up to 12 seconds. It activates the skill Exsanguinate at a 15% chance to apply. Now, Exsanguinate, we'll get into that later. That's like a high-hitting healing skill. So, Barbed Arrow is great, and in the blue line, right here in the first row, I've put 6 points in to increase damage over time. So it's a bleed, it will slowly tick damage off your target. And I put a point into Hindering Shot in the yellow line, and Barbed Arrow temporarily slows your target. So this would be super good if you were going to do player versus player, but I've discovered this is really, really good in just a landscape, because if I tag a target, oops, right there, click on it, see, I've hit him with Barbed Arrow. So he's taking damage every 12 seconds, and he's reduced speed, which is great if you're kiting, because now you can run away faster. Okay, so my second ability is Blood Arrow, a damaging shot that also restores the hunter's morale. Now I put this one in my second slot and number 2 because I've discovered that you kind of have to be thinking about healing on a hunter before you're taking serious damage, because they only really have Press Onward as a big heal, and it has quite a big cooldown. So if you're applying this Blood Arrow, you're kind of adding some passive healing in general, and that really helps your overall survivability. And it has relatively low cooldown, and it restores mana. Right there, it gives you plus ranged damage, so it gives you a lot of buffs. So I put that at the front of my rotation. Number 3 is Lingering Wound. Arrows leave a lingering wound that tears up with repeated use. So again, this is a bleed up to 10 seconds. And if I hit it again, there's number 2, and it ramps up the damage, as you see. Now it's 2,500, sorry. So I think it ramps up 3 times, then it dissipates. Alright, the next ability on number 4 is Swift Bow. Loose 3 missiles in rapid succession. And this actually builds your focus down there, and also a chance to proc Exsanguinate. So I guess I didn't explain that. Barbed Arrow, Blood Arrow, Lingering Wound, and Swift Bow have a chance to proc, a 15% chance to proc Exsanguinate. And I'll get to that a little bit later. So Swift Bow is a really good rapid fire attack that builds up focus. So I've put it here because Barbed Arrow takes focus, Blood Arrow takes focus, Lingering Arrow takes focus, and Swift Bow kind of builds it back up. So that seems to work pretty effectively. Now, if I go through my rotations here a couple times, I'm just doing 1, 2, and 3, and 4. Blood Arrow, Barbed Arrow, Swift Bow. It's not wanting to proc. Basically, Exsanguinate I have up here. When it lights up, when it procs, you basically want to hit it when it procs. If I understand this correctly. There we go. It hit it procced. So Exsanguinate is a powerful attack that leaves the target bleeding. Scourging Blow will close the wound significant damage. So Scourging Blow is actually melee. So anytime you're using these abilities, keep an eye on Exsanguinate because it's a big hitting spell, but it kind of procs at certain times. Okay, so now we get into the heavy hitting spells. So all the spells up until that point, abilities, are like bleeds and little damage over times. Penetrating shot, damage shot that pierces the enemy, mitigations. So that's good at taking out tanky targets. It gives you a plus 12% range damage, and it costs you power and focus. Then the next one is Barrage, a quick attack that deals more damage each time it's used. So this also ramps up. So the more times you use it, the more damage it does. And it also costs 3 focus. And then the last ability I have on here is Huntsman Shot, a massively damaging shot that will bring down even the biggest target. So this is the biggest attack you have. So generally speaking, my rotations look like I hit him with Barbed Arrow, I hit him with Blood Arrow, Lingering Wound, Swift Bow. If I've procced Exsanguinate, I will hit that as well. And then if the target is still alive, then I hit him with these heavy hitting ones, and then I go back and repeat. That's generally how you would run a single target damage rotation. Okay, in a scenario where you have multiple mobs, which how I play Blue Line is basically every time. And I'm going to show an example of how I play Blue Line. So basically I do the 1, 2, 3, 4 method and Exsanguinate when it procs, like just then. And then if there's multiple mobs, I will pull them to a point where they're in front of me, and then I will hit Split Shot. Split Shot looses multiple arrows at once, hitting several targets in a small area. Split Shot's really good. You can use it as long as it's on cooldown and you have focus. And then Rain of Arrows, which is what I got from the red line. And Rain of Arrows is rain down arrows upon your enemies, allowing you to hit multiple targets. So these two are the AoE abilities. And then Agile Rejoinder, strike multiple enemies in front of you. Now, the Hunter does do melee. There are a few melee attacks. Scourging Blow, with combined with Exsanguinate, can do really good damage in melee range. And then Low Cut is actually a stun. So if somebody gets close to you and you're like losing health, that can be really effective. You stun them and then you back away and you heal, do whatever you need to do. But generally speaking, I don't usually do that. I just kite them and keep away. So Split Shot and Rain of Arrows are how you deal with multiple targets at once. Okay, I guess another note I forgot to say is Quick Shot. Knock and loose an arrow quickly. 25% chance to apply Ascendant. So this is also another chance to apply Ascendant. I probably should put this in the rotation. I put it up here because it just... in the Blue Line, you can put points into it, and it gives you bonuses, but it just seems like going for the damage over time is better. Now, I might be wrong in this, full disclosure. Maybe I need to be putting this in my rotation. But the way I play and think is I want things to die as quickly as possible and just move on because, like, time is money, right? So I don't want to, like, waste time. And the bleeds and arrows and heavy hitters are generally how things die quicker, is what I've noticed. But I just wanted to point that out. The Quick Shot is an important rotation. I don't seem to use it very often, and I could be playing it mistakenly, but I haven't put points into it. So I guess there might be some variation in how you want to play it. Okay, so then another couple important abilities. Obviously, Find Path, if you activate this, you run at 25% out of combat faster. That's really, really good for just landscape if you're in an instance, whatever. Just general speed increase is always really, really good. You have Rapid Fire, both skills that cost focus have no cost. So if you're about to use big, heavy focus, activate this, and you'll get it for free. And then Fleetness, plus 1 focus per 3 seconds. And 35% run speed, immune to roots and slows. So So this is just a speed increase and a focus increase, so that's really good. So you have intent, concentration, and focus. So before a big fight, if you hit focus, you can actually build your focus back up. So that's good, generally speaking, right before a fight. It gives you a good chance. Unless, of course, you've been running around passively. If you hover over it, I have 2 out of 9 right now. So if I walk away, it will slowly generate. See, now I have 5 out of 9. So if you've not attacked anything, focus right before isn't necessary. But if you've just gotten done killing a couple mobs and you're down on focus, you could activate focus to build it back up. So the other thing is intent concentration is like an instant pop to get you back to full focus. So if I attack this, go through my rotation, now I have 6 out of 9. Okay, so then I'm empty, right? I'm empty, and if I hit intense concentration, I'm back up at 9. So I use intense concentration as kind of a, oops, I messed something up. Because if you're running your rotations well and you got good DPS, things are going to die quick enough that you probably shouldn't have to use that. Okay, some kind of self-mitigation, self-healing tips. Press onward. Quickly heals a great deal of morale. Grants a short movement buff while in combat. And you can spec more into this. I spec'd into Blood Arrow. That was helpful. Where is... Press onward. Right here. So on the blue line, and I think this was a rework they did in 2025, you can actually increase the amount it heals. And I remember when I was leveling up, I pretty much went all into Barbed Arrow, put all my resources there, then I went into self-healing. Because the Hunter is pretty squishy. So there's that ability for healing, and then Cry of the Hunter is really helpful. Plus 30% run speed, applies a damage preventing bubble. So this is your really good get out of jail free card. If you've been stunned, this is, I think, your ability to unstun yourself. So it's basically a cleanse. But then you put a bubble on yourself. So if you're in trouble, you're about to die, you can pop this, give yourself some space, some speed to get out of there. Then you can apply Blood Arrow to heal, press onward to heal. And a lot of times, Cry of the Hunter is what you need to get yourself out of trouble. Now down here I have Eldar's Grace, which I believe is a... that is a racial ability for Elf. Yeah, so you're not going to have that on other classes, but I like this because it gives you a 75% parry chance. So, and then Purge Poison. Every class will have like some kind of Purge of Disease and Poison. This one does seem to be more effective at poisons and diseases of cleansing them. So then your other typical, you get an interrupt ability and you get a fear ability over here. So if you're fighting an enemy who's doing induction, you have an interrupt. Okay, so another thing of note, if you are really wanting to maximize your damage potential, if you hit focus before a battle begins, Barrage does more damage and ramps up. So if you're wanting to open up, see that did 12 and 15,000. If you're wanting to open up like with big damage right away, focus and then barrage a bunch of times. I think you can do a maximum of 3. If you wanted to switch up the rotation, from what I have here, I really like Blood Arrow as my second, because it has a relatively low cooldown. It has a chance to proc Exsanguinate, and it does some passive healing, like I just like example here. You can also hit Scourging Blow right after Exsanguinate. That did 11,000 melee damage. Typically speaking, though, I don't do much melee. Although in the blue line, they did give you some melee buffs. And I do have a legendary weapon that is a melee. But generally speaking, I just try to kill things from range on a hunter. The other thing you can do is you can focus on lingering... The other thing you can do is you can focus on lingering wound. But with it racking up several times, you could exchange something like this, Blood Arrow somewhere else, and then Huntsman Shot. Massively damaging, will bring even the biggest enemies down. This also gives you plus 20% melee damage. So if you were trying to mid-max, you probably would open up with Barrage, Lingering, 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 which is the 3 times. Then hit them with the Huntsman, and by that time they're up close and you could hit them with that, the melee. So that did pretty good damage too. But in the landscape, just soloing and out in the world, Barrage into Blood Arrow into Hungering. Like, I just kind of go down this track, hit Exsanguinate when it's available, Swift Bow to build up focus, Barrage. By this time, pretty much everything dies that I run into. Now, if you're running into, like, legendaries or higher health targets, you might need to do a different rotation with opening up Barrage, doing Penetrating Shot, or stacking up your Lingering Wounds. Alright, so here's the blue line. We're going to put all of that information into real-time play. This is a mission, just because the mob density is going to be here. So you have to break through these gates. So I'm going to hit it with the Barbed Arrow, Blood Arrow, Exsanguinate credit. So I'm going to hit Exsanguinate, hit it with the hard hittings, and then there's a lot of mobs. So I'm going to still hit the gates. While that's happening, I'm going to pop some of my focus builders, hit my rain of arrows, and that's actually killing those mobs right now that are in front of me. I'm going to go ahead and hit these mobs over here. Hit an Exsanguinate on that guy. Exsanguinate almost drops to half health, so it's a pretty big hitting ability. The same thing, moving around. And there. So the damage is pretty good. I got a slow impairing effect. I'm going to cleanse. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to back up, hit my AoE abilities. All the while just staying away from the mobs as much as possible. And there you go. So that's a very basic example of Blue Line. Very mobile, can handle lots of mobs, and yeah.